How's it going, guys? I'm back, and today I'm going to be making this really cool fish mount to commemorate the nicest fish that I caught in all of 2024. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back with you. I found this little hanging blackboard thing at my local secondhand store. Now, I can't tell you what the purpose of a blackboard this small is, and that's probably why it ended up at the store, but I can tell you that when you flip it over, you get almost a perfect picture frame. So I'm going to start by removing all the hardware from this thing so I can turn it into something pretty cool. This took a little bit to get done, so while I finish up, let me tell you a little bit about this walleye. Coming in at 25 inches and 5 pounds, she was no monster to be sure. But trust me, after a year of catching hundreds of walleye under 12 inches, that 5-pounder was truly a sight for sore eyes. And I think you guys will agree that this one definitely deserves a spot on the wall after you hear the way I caught it. Look at that picture. That is just one magnificent, powerful beast of nature. And the fish is pretty nice too, I guess. Next up in this little project, I'm going to take this 5x5 picture and using some tape, secure it to the back of the frame. I did end up with a little bit of a gap around the outline of the picture, so I'm going to be gluing down some twine to create a border that we'll use to cover that up. While I have a second, I'll go ahead and tell you about this fish. It was a nice sunny day and I was out with my friend fishing. We were both in our own boats, but we were fishing in the same spot. For 2-3 hours, all that happened was I sat there and watched him catch fish after fish after fish. Finally, I got tired of watching him catch fish, so I decided to go fish somewhere else. After about 20 minutes of trying different spots, I hooked what I thought was a log, started reeling, and then the log started fighting back. At this point, I was pretty sure that I hooked a decent pike, as I've caught several like that on that lake before. But once it got close to the boat and I saw that white spot on the tail, I knew that this was no pike, and I had to land this fish. A couple of dives later, and the fish was finally right by the boat, but I realized that my net was nowhere near sufficient for this fish. So I dropped my rod, reached in, and grabbed her with both hands. Luckily, I managed to get one hand next to the mouth and one hand next to the tail, and I just bear hugged and lifted her into the boat. As I did that, she started flopping, and she managed to throw my treble hooks right into my arm. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, in and out, in and out. On the 3rd time, the hook actually broke out of the fish's mouth and finally stayed in my arm. But I had an unhooked fish in my hands, so into the live well she went while I figured out how to get the hook out of my arm. After a little bit of surgery, the hook was out, my shirt was off, and I wasn't bleeding too bad. I realized that my live well wasn't going to be big enough to hold a fish of this size, so I immediately started my motor and started heading back over to my buddy's boat because he has a bigger live well on board. Once I made it to my friend's boat, we threw the fish in his live well so it could recover for a while after the fight. Then we snapped some pictures, and that was pretty much it. Now, back to the project. As you can see, I've taken some of the line from the pole, attached it to the lure, and then wrapped it around those screws we took out from the front earlier. What that's done is given me a way to actually suspend the lure in front of the picture and give it a really cool effect. And if you look closely, you might even be able to see that broken piece of lure that actually stayed in the fish while the rest of it stayed in me. I used the same line technique to connect the front of the lure with the addition of the actual swivel and snap that was on the pole when I caught the fish. Here's a little better overview of what the project actually looked like once I had all the pieces together. I ended up using the frame itself and embedding the tips of the hooks in it to keep them from swinging or moving around. The final thing we have to do is put a hanger on this thing so that we can put it up on the wall. And to do that, you guessed it, I'm going to use some more of the fishing line that was on the rod. Using the same line wrap technique around 2 screws and putting them back in, we have a hanger. Now that we've got it done, let's go ahead and take this project that we've been working so hard on over to the wall so that we can take a look at it and see what it's actually going to look like up and displayed. A little bit of adjusting is definitely required to make it look right, but I don't think that looks too bad. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and let me know if you're thinking about trying a project like this yourself. I think it turned out really well, and honestly, I'm definitely going to be doing this again. And if I do, I hope to catch you guys there. I'll see you in the next one.